Okay, today is January 14, 2021. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes Storage Special Interest Group. As a reminder, this meeting is public, recorded, and posted on YouTube. So on the agenda today, we are going to go through the planning session for the next Kubernetes release, version 121. And if there's anything that you want to discuss, please feel free to add to the agenda. The link to the agenda document is in the invite. So for the planning session, we now have dates for the 121 release. The upcoming deadline is for the enhancement freeze. This means if you have a feature that you're working on for the 121 release, it needs to be declared before January 9th, and you need to have the design, the KEP, completed and merged and approved before then. There are some changes to this KEP approval process in this release. Specifically, the release team will no longer track all open enhancement repo, all open issues in the enhancement repo. Previously, you could just open an issue, and as long as it was active, the release team would ping you on the issue and ask you whether this should be in the release or not. They're no longer doing that. Instead, the release team wants us to register which KEPs are going into the next release with them. So the way that that's going to be done is this new Kubernetes 121 enhancement tracking spreadsheet. Please make sure that if you have a feature that's going into 121, that it has been added to this spreadsheet. Otherwise, it will not be tracked by the release team. The only people who have write access to that spreadsheet are the leads. So me, Xing, Michelle, and Jan. So just ping one of us and we can make sure that your KEP is captured in that sheet. So that's the first change. The second change is that you must also get a production readiness review completed before the enhancement freeze date. And there are a set of production reviewers. I don't believe any of us leads right now have production review a production review role. So we're going to need to find someone with a production review role who can sign off on your KEP. This production readiness review process and date is still kind of being debated. It's possible that they may separate the requirement, the required date for the production readiness review from the KEP review. So it's possible that that might get pushed back. But I wouldn't count on it. I would plan to make sure that the production readiness review is done by this February 9th date. So those are the two big changes to be aware of. With that, we can switch over to the SIG planning worksheet and start working our way down and getting status updates for today. Let me start a column here. Okay, so first item we have is delegate FS group to CSI driver instead of kubelet. This is an alpha feature. Hemant or Michelle, any updates on this?
I don't have any new update, but I'll be opening the CSI change today, actually. I'm working on it. And
is there a specific proposal for this, or is it just an idea at this point?
we discussed this, right? Like about, we discussed and we have an issue open where we want to pass the GID, and we have a CSI call, I think next week. So if I have the proposal out, then next week.
Okay, so this is the same proposal we've been talking about.
Yep, same.
Okay.
Same. I'm working on the CSI change. I'll make it open today.
You need to open an enhancement issue. Is this will this be tracked in Kubernetes, or is this not?
I guess it depends on whether we plan to have any changes on the Kubernetes side or only on the CSI side for now.
Okay.
Do you know?
Yeah, so we have to pass it in the, there's already a beta flag for in the CSI driver. CSI driver, we have to add it in. We haven't decided yet, like if we are going to add it as a new flag or not, but it's a little bit to be decided, to be honest.
Okay.
Like
So let's go ahead and create the enhancement issue in CAP, and then you can decide to remove it later. It'll give you more options.
Okay, okay, sure. Okay.
All right, next one is SIG node. Actually, let's put these at the bottom. So there's a set of items that we work with other SIGs. And we can go over those at the end. Okay, so let's talk about CSI online, offline, resizing, volume expansion. No, we're just fixing changes for this release a month. Any updates on that?
So we had a bunch of issues, and I don't know if KK, are you in the call? Probably not. So we have one, like we need some volunteers to help out with some of the features, some of the bugs, sorry. And previously KK volunteered, but we didn't have any progress on that. So if anybody wants to pick it up, then ping me offline. We have two or three issues that we want to fix it, at least in this release, which is the resizing skipped if PVC is deleted, and then the read write many case. That if I'll be able to review it, but I'm not sure if I will have enough time to fix them myself. But I'll try. So that's the status on those issues right now. But so are there any volunteers on this?
Yeah, this is a good opportunity to slowly start getting involved with the SIG. If you've been sitting on those sidelines wondering how to get involved, this is a good opportunity. This is an important set of bug fixes for a key feature. And you have the guidance of someone who is a veteran here, Hemant. So if you're interested, please speak up now, or feel free to message Hemant or me or any of the leads after the call.
All right, so.
Okay, so yeah, if you're interested, feel free to reach out afterwards. We'd be happy to have you work on this. Next item is recovering from resize failures.
This is a design item again for 121 because it's still bare track. So I don't have any update except we'll work on designing this.
Sounds good. Next item is SE Linux recursive permission handling. Jan?
That is design that I'm carrying for several releases already. So trying to have the design in this release.
Okay. Next item is CSI entry read-only handling. I did not reach out to Humble yesterday, so I don't have a status update. Does anyone else know?
I know that Humble is out of office for quite some time.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I hope nothing bad is happening. But
yeah, I don't know if Michelle's on the call, but she reached out to me earlier, and I'm happy to take over.
Was that Cheng?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cheng, if you could send a message, an email to Humble, letting him know,
Okay.
then feel free to go ahead and pick this up. And,
sounds good.
Preliminarily, I'll switch this and put Humble as the API reviewer. And
If you could let me know his email or Slack.
yeah, if you ping me, I'll share that with you right after the
awesome.
meeting.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Cheng. Next item.
So that one, he already has a PR that is almost ready, right? So let me just pick up that PR. Is there a link
Yeah.
here?
That might not be the only issue actually with this one, like the provisioning time. There are other issues, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with y'all after I ramp up to the context.
Sounds good. Okay, next item is issues related to assuming volumes or mount points. Let's see, last update here is Andy's fix is in. Another fix got reverted due to some issues that needed to be resolved. Any further update on this?
No, I think basically one of the fixes revealed a problem that's like a little fundamental. So we need to potentially, find an owner to potentially try to look into it.
Do you want to tackle this for the 121 timeframe or delay it to the next quarter?
It would be nice if we can find an owner for it. I'm not sure we will though. Maybe we can sync up with Jing offline.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody wants to have a crack at like CRI issues, then this will be a good fix. It's a pretty tricky issue though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's a CRI issue. I think it's an issue with the state machine, the pod state machine.
Not sure. I think it's a CRI issue, but okay, we can talk. It affects up to Kubernetes 1.11, so it's not new, but yeah. We have
Well, if anyone's interested in helping debug a fundamental issue, this would be a good place to get started. Again, feel free to reach out offline if you're interested. Let's keep it moving. So next item is storage capacity tracking for pod scheduling. This is moving to beta this quarter. Patrick is running this. I don't know if Patrick's on the call.
Yeah, I don't think he's here, but I don't think there's much update from last time.
Next item is the PVC inline ephemeral volumes. It's the original ephemeral volumes for CSI drivers, bringing that in line with the new ephemeral volumes. No, sorry, this is the new ephemeral volumes. Excuse me. This is what Patrick is working on. Anyone know if there's been any progress on this? Okay, we're going to mark that as no update. And then we have a second ephemeral volume, which is the old CSI ephemeral volumes. And the ask here is to bring the API in line with the new ephemeral volumes, which is line number 9. So we said Matt Carey potentially could work on this. Is that still the case?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Great. Okay, good. Yeah, so this is something that we're interested in, but probably not for a release or two. We have some new customers in GKE here who are using Ephemeral in new ways, and we kind of feel like we want to evaluate what that usage looks like before we can have much of an opinion on how to do this. So I think the TLDR is that I'm happy to work on this, but it's not going to happen for probably a release or two. So if there's somebody who feels like this should happen sooner, I'm happy to seed or work with them or something. But just from our time frame, this probably won't make much progress until the summer.
Okay, that sounds good. So if anyone on the call is concerned about delaying CSI ephemeral volumes for another release or two, then please reach out, and we can kind of hand this off from Matt Carey to you. And otherwise, we'll plan to have Matt and team work on this in a release or two.
Yep, exactly. Thanks.
Okay, next item is spreading over failure domains. This is a design for the quarter and related to volume group. Or Shing, do you want to talk about these two?
Yeah, so I think the spreading one haven't made much progress because that depends on the next one. So we're still trying to wrap up the design for volume groups. I need to update the cap, and then we need to schedule another review meeting. Yeah, so I think the target in this quarter is still design, trying to nail down the design.
Yep, and design, we got plenty of time, so sounds good to me. Next item is CSI out of tree, move by SCSI driver, fit and finish. So this is the CSI SCSI driver.
I have not had a chance to follow up with folks, but it's on my plate to do.
Cool. I'll copy over the status from last time. And then for the NFS provisioner, NFS client, Kieran, are you on the line by any chance?
Yes, Saad. So NFS provisioner, things are set up now. I have a flaky build that I need to fix, but things are good. NFS client provisioner, there's just one more PR to be merged on the test infra. With that, I think we are all set.
Nice. All right, thank you so much for the update. Next item is volume snapshot and namespace transfer. This is a design that we were unsure who's going to work on this. I think Mike was working on this in the last quarter. Unclear if he's going to continue to work on it. I don't know if he's on the call. Doesn't look like it. If anyone else is interested in picking this up, this would be a fun design project. The TLDR is that we have a number of resources that are namespaced, like volumes and snapshots, and we need, and they're not just namespace, they have a namespace component and a non-namespace component that is tied together pretty tightly. And so moving those objects across namespaces is a rather difficult manual process. And so if we had a generic way to automate this, that would be very nice. The challenges in coming up with such a design are, ensuring that we can do this in a safe and secure way so that we don't violate any of the security principles behind the existing designs. So a very fun design project. If anyone's interested in working on this, let me know.
And Saad, to be clear, like what we want is to effectively move things across namespaces, because you can't literally move an object across namespaces. So we want like a new object with the same name and the same actual data to appear in a new namespace, but it will be a new object.
Right. Yeah, that's an important clarification.
Yeah. All right. So there's no magic. It's just hard work.
Yeah, this is just taking something that we, someone could do today manually and automating it, so it's a little bit less of a pain. So if you're interested in working on a feature, here's a feature you can work on. And for this quarter, it would just be design. It would be coming up with a KEP design doc that says, here's how we think it should work, and getting approval on that. All right, moving on, we have Csi Volume Health. Moving that to beta. Any update on this?
So yeah, so I will need to update the cap, move it into the new format, and then to also do the production readiness review.
Sounds good. And then we have volume populator data source, Ben.
Yeah, so we've been discussing this on our regular Tuesday meetings. The latest update is that I have finished doing a code refactor or a split of the reusable parts and the sample parts. And so like I'm going to be pushing that to my repo soon, and then we'll go over that code on our next Tuesday meeting, and then I'm probably going to turn my attention to getting the KEP updated and approved for 121, because that's the first deadline that I'm going to face. But all the code is in very good shape for that, I think, and we just need to start going over it as a group.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for that update. And if anyone's interested in following this design more closely, there are weekly meetings on Tuesdays. And if you're interested, take a look at the SIG calendar. You should be able to see an invite 10 a.m. Pacific time for the volume populator meeting. Feel free to copy that over to your own calendar and attend. Next up is the Object Storage API, Csi. Anyone on the Csi team interested in giving an update? Hi, Srini.
Yeah, basically what we are doing is after the break, we speed up our development. We are at a point very close to integration. We did some local integration of the components for a simple positive case of creating buckets and the credentials. We ran into a small issue that requires hopefully a small API change on gRPC objects. So that will be discussed today in the community meeting so that we can go ahead. Apart from that, documentation of the project is very important to us because that will help us onboarding new contributors to the project. So we had few PRs on the documentation side. Integration unit testing is happening right now. We're doing, we speed up quite a bit in the last week or so.
Srini, I think you guys also need to update the CAP. You need to do the
Yes.
production readiness.
Yes. That's exactly true. And we are waiting for the discussion in the meeting today after this meeting so that we can update the CAP on the API objects and we can continue with our integration. We're pretty close in finishing up the integration for the first phase. So then we can move on and hopefully do API review after that.
Yeah, so for everyone else, this is a pretty ambitious new project. The hope here is to come up with a standard like we have with CSI. CSI is focused on file and object, and COSI, container object storage interface here, is trying to get kind of a similar standard going for object storage. It would be focused on the data path, not necessarily, or sorry, it would be focused on the control path, not the data path. And so if you're interested at all in that effort, there are multiple weekly meetings for this. There's kind of a design meeting immediately after this meeting on the same Zoom. And then there is a kind of coding or working meeting on Monday mornings as well. And if you're interested in either of those meetings, again, they are on the SIG storage calendar. And you can also reach out to Srini or Jeff or Sid or anybody working on that project if you're interested in getting involved. I think they also have a Slack channel as well. All right, moving on. Next item is change block tracking. Xing, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so we started working on this design in data production working group. Feng is leading that. I don't see him on the call. I think last time it was before the holiday break. He put together some design in a Google Doc. There are still some design challenges, like how to come up with this common design that works for every vendor. So I think there are still things that we need to sort out. So we should, we'll try to make some progress on the design this quarter.
Cool.
And Xing, so I understand working groups don't own things, right? The working group is for the SIG storage and SIG apps and anyone else who's interested to get together and talk. But like if
we don't own code, so we don't own code,
right.
but we can like do design discussions.
So if that particular design that you're talking about, like the change block tracking, turns into like a deliverable, like that would go to one of the SIGs.
It will be SIG storage. Yeah, the cap should be still under SIG storage.
So yeah, for folks who are unfamiliar, SIG storage and SIG apps combined have a new work group called the Data Protection Work Group, and it's very well attended. They have weekly meetings, and they discuss issues related to data protection, everything from volume snapshots to volume backups, and in this case, how to handle change block tracking. And so if you're interested in any of those designs, attending the data protection work group would be a good first step. And you can also take a look at the designs that are being laid out here. I think if you reach out to Xing or one of the folks in the data protection work group, they can point you to the right place to take a look at that design.
Well, just want to interject quickly here. My name is Ed Reed. I'm new to this community. I work for Microsoft. We discussed the CBT design a little bit in the last meeting before the end of last year. And I have some additional information about the capabilities for Azure with managed disks and snapshots that I would like to feed into that group. Xing, would I contact
that'll be,
you?
yeah. Yes, please. I think we actually need some information from Azure because we couldn't find the API that gave us change blocks. So
right, I have that information for you.
Awesome.
So I'll follow up with you after this meeting then.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, if it gets big enough, it might be worth setting up a standalone weekly meeting for change block tracking, but Xing, I'll leave that up to you to decide.
Yeah. We actually have one-off meetings just for
nice.
different things because otherwise may not fit into that meeting.
Sounds good. And if you could add that meeting to the SIG calendar, that'd be great.
I think it's already there.
Oh, okay.
I'll make sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Next item is new read-write-only access mode. We've got Chris from our team working on this. This is a long-running issue. If you have implemented a CSI driver, I think one of the things that you notice is the mismatch between the access modes that Kubernetes allows and the access modes that CSI allows. And what further complicates it is that on the Kubernetes side, there is a implicit access mode of a single writer that is single writer per node, but you could have multiple pods on a single node and effectively get multi-writer through that mechanism. And that mechanism is not explicitly defined through the API, but it is allowed and is become behavior that many are depending on. And that has caused a lot of confusion on the driver side to try and improve.
Worse than that, the spec specifically disallows it, but it works anyways.
Yeah, it's bad. It's confusing. We need to fix this. And the person tasked with this is Chris. I don't think Chris is on the line, but that's a little bit of the background on what's going on. The goal for this quarter will be to come up with a design that we all agree on, and moving forward, the idea would be to start with the Kubernetes API and then work our way down. If we can agree on a new change to the Kubernetes API that'll fix this, we can make changes to Kubernetes, and if needed, make changes on the CSI side as well. All right. Next, we have CSI Migration. This effort is trying to take all the old legacy in-tree volume plugins and get them migrated over to CSI. There is the core code in Kubernetes responsible for this migration, as well as individual volume plugin level code to enable that migration. So for the core migration, Jiawei has been working on this along with Matt Carey. Jiawei, you want to talk about the status of this?
Yes. So just wanted to get a clarification. The Csi Migration core, we can only declare it as a GA unless all the other Csi migration are done, right?
I think we can decide that.
I mean, like, I'm not quite sure, like, what is the the final goal for the core, because for all the other Csi migration, we have like specific plugin and we know what's the final result we want. But for the core, I'm not very clear.
So ideally, we move it to GA when we think that the API exposed by the core is kind of stable. In this case,
Okay.
I don't think there's any public API that we expose, rather internal libraries. And internal libraries can be updated, you know, in the future and kept backwards compatible by updating all the internal references to those libraries. So that's less of a concern. I think more of a concern would be, does it actually work and fulfill the needs of the volume plugins that are dependent on it? If we have at least, you know, 2 or 3 large volume plugins that are fairly different depending on it, and they are, you know, GA quality themselves, then I think the core is ready to move to GA. I don't think we need to block on every single volume plugin being moved to GA before we move the core.
Okay, gotcha, thanks. Yeah, so the status for this right now is that I have already started to collect all of the information that I have found and start to draft some documentation on what's the gap between the beta to GA, and also I'm starting to contact to the clusters lifecycle team to try to understand what are some other Kubernetes distribution that we need to take care of, because so basically we're taking the GCEPD as the first experimental plugin to go GA. So basically we're trying to figure out what are the things that we need to do for the GCEPD to go GA, and then after that is done, we can like list the items that need to be accomplished by all the other plugins. So yeah, right now it's still I'm still collecting all the works that we need to done, and I'll probably start a separate meeting after I got enough information to talk about this.
Sounds good.
Excuse me, I'll also add that we have created a project board under Kubernetes SIG, and hopefully we'll have that updated soon for like tasks and such.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really exciting to see the progress on this. We went beta on the Csi migration in the Kubernetes 1.17 release, so it's been a while, and this is kind of hard, thankless work. So I appreciate the work Jiawei and Matt are doing here. Thank you.
Oh, just by another note. So regarding this, I'm also had a PR to fix a Csi translation library, and the PR is still in review. And after that, I think another PR to migrate all the topology label to GA, it's also needed. I don't know if we have this as a separate task in this release though.
We don't. I think it should be added. Let me add one entry here. I guess it's not really a migration, is it? Or
it's just a replace the topology label probably. Yeah. Update, yeah.
Okay.
Because I have heard that we're gonna remove the bit label probably in this release or next release. I'm not sure.
Got it. And Jiawei, you're going to be working on that?
I'm going to working on the GCE part. For the other part, I can create issues and assign it to the owner of the other cloud provider.
Okay. Do you know who's going to be driving kind of the main issue then?
You can put my name on it first.
I'll put you down as reviewer until you're finalized, and we'll say volunteers needed.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for that update. Now let's get an update on the CSI migration for the individual plugins. Any update on the vSphere side, Devian?
Yes, so vSphere CSI driver release 2.1 is out with the migration support. It requires Kubernetes 1.19 and vSphere 7.0 U1. So that's released.
That's vSphere 7.1. Sorry, what was the
update? 7.0 update 1.
7.0 update 1. Okay. Cool. Any?
And we are working on supporting this on the older releases of the vSphere to declare it as a GA, because this is a very hard requirement that we have right now to upgrade vSphere to 7.0 U1.
Awesome. And is the plan to get it like back to 6.7 or further?
6.7, up to 6.7.
Nice.
Is there a plan to support storage class, data store direct name, or it's still like defaulting to a storage policy? That was one of the deal breakers we had in some of this thing. Just want to check.
You mean translating the data store into the URL, right? As part of the migration?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are tracking that.
Okay.
Cool. And I think the latest question that came up was apparently a dependency on a vSphere hardware version as well. Is that being tracked?
So when we support the migration on vSphere 6.7, that has the lower hardware version requirement than the 7.0 U1. So with that, we are covered.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you so much for that update, Devian. Looks like lots of good progress on the vSphere side. Anyone want to give an update for the Azure disk or Azure file?
Andy is working on investigating fixes for Azure file. There's a problem with node authorizer, so yeah, he's working on that. I don't think there's an update for Azure Disk.
Okay, thank you for that, Michelle. And then on the GCE side, Matt or Jiawei, you want to give an update?
Yeah, we have started figuring out how to launch this. Currently, the only gaps we've seen are in testing and kind of the details of the launch process. We haven't finished evaluating that, so there may be some feature gaps that we haven't identified yet.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Matt. And then from the AWS side, Matt Wong. Michelle, do you happen to know?
Yeah, so I think Matt and another person, I forget his name, but they are actively going to work on this.
Okay. And then we have OpenStack Cinder. We were trying to figure out who would work on this. Do we have agreement between Jan, Hemant, Fabio?
I don't know. Like, we are pretty busy here.
Okay.
We want to start doing something with migration on Cinder, but I'm not sure we can commit like for ownership.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like this is a call out for the rest of the community. If you are interested in OpenStack Cinder kind of at all, this would be a project that needs your help. And what is at risk here is that I think eventually if we have a set of volume plugins that are not migrated to CSI, we will consider just deprecating them. So the paths forward are deprecation or migration, and if we can't get anyone to commit to a migration, the obvious path would end up being deprecation. So if anybody on the call is really interested in helping move this forward or is really interested in Cinder, please reach out and see if you can help drive this project forward. I think between Jan, Hemant, and Fabio, there is a lot of knowledge that can help guide you. We just need somebody to help kind of drive this along.
It would help if we had like list of, I don't know, requirements to satisfy before GA.
Maybe reach out to Jiawei. I don't know if Jiawei, you can help provide that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the main requirement is just mainly like testing, I guess. And I think for the most part, you know, it's like as plugin owner, if you feel like you're, you know, ready to call it GA, and I think that's just the main thing.
Matt Carey, on the GC side, what is kind of your, how are you approaching this? Maybe that'll help Jan.
Yeah, so the main goal our impression is that we think migration works, and we do want to add a bit more testing just to get higher confidence of that. But the main block we're working on now is like exactly how we're going to roll it out in GKE. You know, like, so all of the issues of like, if it does happen to break something for a particular customer, do we have a strategy for getting it rolled back effectively and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that those are probably the main considerations you have. If it is, you know, how to communicate to customers, how to switch it on, and what to do if something goes wrong, and also just improve testing to make sure you're confident that it does actually work well.
Awesome. Does that help, Jan?
Yeah, I think OpenStack Upstream, they run the migration tests regularly. I can check how successful it is, but my gut feeling is that it's just, I don't know, to node cluster, it won't test much. And I'm not sure what is the expected scale and what else to test actually.
There's also, so in the main CSI migration enhancement issue, there's a couple of known gaps that are listed. I would go through that list of known gaps and see if your plugin is impacted by them or not. That could be another factor.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, I think that sounds good. Thank you for the update there. Next up is CSI migration for Ceph. We preliminarily put Humble's name down on this. I think we need to follow up and see if Humble is actually going to be able to commit to this. In the meantime, if there's anybody else interested, please let me know. Okay, next item is the set of tasks that this group is working on that are co-owned by other SIGs. First up is SIG node user namespace. I forget what the item here is. Mauricio or Hemant, you want to jog my memory and give an update?
Oh, a person from, I think SIG came and presented this to us, but it was kind of didn't proceed much. But they want to enable the objective is to enable user namespaces in Kubelet so that the UIDs could get shifted, which they aren't. And if the UIDs are shifted, then we were talking if we want to do something similar for FS group, or how does it affect FS group. So yeah, I don't
Is this the same thing as shifting mounts, or a different approach than shifting mounts?
Shifting, that is a different thing. Like that's a kernel feature that's not merged or
But like
not there.
if you shift the user IDs and you don't shift the mounts, then you have that's why FS group exists, right?
No, we don't shift the user IDs in Kubernetes right now. Although the container runtime support that, but it's not. It's a feature of C group. This is not enabled in Kubernetes yet.
But do we know how it's going to work when you turn it on and you're using the FS group stuff?
We don't know, and that's what.
Okay.
We don't know actually. Yeah.
That would be a good thing to find out.
There's and I think that was raised in our call when it was presented to us by, I think, different person, but the ownership of the feature had changed hands. So I have not read the new cap yet, but I think I had to find time to read this cap. But if anybody else wants to take a look at the cap and follow up, that'll be great as well. But I'll set aside some time to read this one.
Sounds good. Yeah, if anyone's interested in helping shepherd this, let me know. It would mean kind of following up on the status, helping review the cap, that kind of thing. I know Haman's working on a million things for this, so it'd be great if we can get some help. Next item is ungraceful node shutdown. Shing, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, yeah. So this one actually, right now the owner of this is actually SIG storage. So I asked Yasin about this. He said this actually should be part of SIG storage because there was a proposal to change CSI spec. And also there was the pod GC controller. He said that's actually not owned by SIG node. It's not owned by any SIG. So
interesting.
Yeah, so I think we of course still need to get SIG node involved, but not sure.
More in a review capacity. Okay, so that is interesting. Does anybody have cycles to pick this up as their main project for this release, or?
Oh, so I will be driving this. So I talked to
perfect. Okay.
Yes, I talked to him. He's still interested, but I think he's busy with a lot of things. So I need to sync up with him. I have a lot of questions on the approach itself.
Got it.
So I think this is something that we need to address. It's just, I mean, what's the right approach?
Yep.
To address it. So I need to sync up with him first when he get some time, and then schedule some meetings to, talk about this. So I opened the issue. So I will enter this one as a SIG storage project then, because it does not look like it's a SIG node.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. We'll still call it SIG node here because we need to get input from SIG node, but effectively it'll be driven from the storage side. All right, thank you, Shing. Next item is immutable secrets and config maps. Wojtek's driving this. Michelle and I looked at the CAP and PRs and have approved them. I forget if they've been merged or not.
Yeah, I think this is done.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and mark that as done. Next item is with SIG apps, address issues related to PVC creates PVCs that are created by stateful set are not auto-deleted. KK or Matt, any updates on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if KK's here. I don't think he is. Anyway, this is something that we kind of missed pretty closely for 120. I'd love to get this in for 121 so I can try out the new spreadsheet process, but I haven't been, both KK and I have been busy, so we are not certain whether that will happen, but I think we can put in a goal of getting this into 121.
Sounds good. Okay. Then we have volume expansion for stateful sets. Hamad?
Yeah, KK volunteered for this, but I think he didn't have chance to work on this.
Okay.
And I don't know if he has cycles to work on this. I'll take it up on 121. The main issue is like how the rollback of like stateful set works when something resizing is enabled. And yeah, the cap needs to be updated. There was a cap that was written by a person, Siddharth, I think, and that was abandoned. So it has to be kind of picked up. If nobody takes it up, it will be one of the long-term plans for this group.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Hamad. Next is execution hook. Xing?
Yeah, so Shanti and I are updating the cap, trying to address some of the comments. And then after that, we will need to set up some meeting to review those. So we are still hoping to target alpha. So I need to talk to Shanti because we also need to update the cap, move it into this new format.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Xing. And then we have SIG architecture wanted us to split up the mount library out of the KDS utils. Any updates on that?
Yeah, hi. This is Srini again. Thanks to DIMS, he has moved Csi Advisor to use Mobi libraries, and that PR is merged. So Csi Advisor no longer is dependent on mount utils. And also thanks to Michelle, she did some groundwork updating the KEP to the new format and opened the issue. I have a PR which is on hold right now. That's the last PR, I believe, to update the dependencies, but that has to wait until the version of the Csi Advisor is bumped up in the vending directory. So I don't know when that's going to happen. I can chase that, but usually it happens at the end of the release. So
perfect.
Okay. Also, we can have we removed the mount library from Kate's utils?
Not yet. Yeah, we can now remove it because there is no longer any more users. Good point. Yep, I'll do that. I'll work on that.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
I had a follow-up question. So there are other similar utils like the reporting stats, like the volume size, and then there's some resize utils, and that generally drivers are copying the code from what I saw between like how to report volume size, and it's not huge amount of code, but and similar for resizing, like the FS resizing code. Did we at some point want to move it to utils as well? And if so, like maybe we can talk offline with this one.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because we want to have, it'd be great if drivers could stop depending on Kubernetes internal packages because the whole Go mod thing is a mess if you have to do that.
Yeah. We can take this as a item for later. So
Sure, I can help if you need.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, moving on to the next item, SIG scheduling, prioritization on volume capacity. Michelle?
I need to sync up with Yacheng to see if he has cycles to work on this for 121.
Okay, sounds good. And then finally, we have user ID ownership in config maps and secrets. Jawei, I think there's no update on this one, right?
Yeah, but it's on my plate. I'll probably need to work on this. Find some time, yeah.
Sounds good. So we are at the top of the hour. Let's see if there's anything in the rest of the agenda. One item from Divian. Let's see if we can get through this. Divian?
Yeah, so this issue was reported long before, but we recently observed in one of our testings. So what happens here is we create a PV, PVC, they get bind with each other. And then for some reason, admin, instead of deleting the PVC, they start deleting the PV. But since we have the PV and PVC in the bound state, we are not able to delete the PV. But somehow when we get out of that kubectl delete PV, we do Control C and get out of that terminal access. We see the status of the PV change from bound to like terminating, and then later if admin deletes the PVC, PVC and PV both are getting deleted, but controller is not giving any callback. So in this case, the PV resource is getting deleted before the provisioner can get hold of that PV resource to fetch the volume ID and send it to the controller. So this is the issue we are seeing, and it's kind of a big problem because it is leaking the orphan volume, lot of orphan volume, if admin or a DevOps persona or an end user is not following the guideline, proper guideline to clean up the Kubernetes resources.
Do you know if this is reproable across other volume plugins as well?
Yes, it is reproducible. So if tell the 195 line number I have mentioned, the comment, that is another driver.
Got it. Michelle, do you know if this is something?
I mean, I think this is sort of a known behavior that like volume deletion is triggered by deleting the PVC, not the PV object. So if an admin comes and directly deletes the PV object, they're kind of on their own to also delete the volume.
Yes, I fully agree with Michelle. This has been like this since forever. And
hey, sorry to interrupt, but isn't it time for the object storage meeting now?
Yes, it is. So let's do this. I'm going to punt these two items to the next meeting. I apologize, Devian and Sandeep. I didn't manage the time very well today. So let's go ahead and end the meeting today. I'll make sure to move these two items to the next meeting. In the meantime, attend the CSI meetings and we can get the conversation going there. I'll go ahead and end this meeting so we can hand it off to the Csi folks. All right, take care, everyone.